Hello and welcome to our Shenmue the Animation After Show. I'm your host George, and like always with me is Barry.
Let's get sweaty. Let's get sweaty.
And this episode is already going to be there's one more after this, but this is kind of like basically the last bit of story we're going to get. And there wasn't that many story in this episode. It's like they added new story to other characters, but most of it was just the Yellowhead building, which is kind of hard to, replicate, because it was like all the action scenes I think kind of suffered because in the video game, it's very video game-ish, you know what I mean? Like the whole Yellowhead building, the build up to the top, and it's kind of hard to do that in an anime. So that was kind of a weak point that the video game did better. We're just talking about what they did better. And I guess you wanted to talk about the notes from last week real fast before we get into what I thought they did good.
Yeah, so in the comments, we always like to look back and see what people have to say. Sometimes they correct us. Sometimes they just have something to say. We have one person here saying, "Thank you, gentlemen, again for your great service to all Shenmue fans out there." That's from Aeonian. Thank you for that. And then there was also a mention here. It's not a correction so much as I remember in the last one we talked about how Shu Ying, we said she didn't really seem to be like following him around in the game, but she does stalk him from the shadows in the games too. And I don't think we outright said that she never did, but it seemed a lot more pronounced in the anime. But if you do the Chawin sign, the sign in the bistro, he says here you get a note to go over to the come over guest house that leads to the scene in the park. And if you lose that fight to her, it shows, and then Rio ends back at her apartment. And I mean, I guess just talking about Shenmue the game, like there's so many cutscenes you don't see on first playthrough. Oh yeah. If at all, if you never play through the game again. So it's understandable that there will be moments in the anime where we're like, this seems new, but then someone says, but if you give this person a duck, then you see a totally different cutscene. So just imagine.
That's another thing that since I did some of the other cutscenes when I mentioned to my brother who's also watching the anime, like, oh, you did this and that, you actually get to see this character's birthday. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh my god. And now he's like talking about how he wants to play the games again. I think that's something that like the anime could, like, people that get into the anime and they look more like what's the differences might get more into the game even if they didn't in the past. Yeah. The thing I did like about this episode though was adding a little more to Wong, like giving him a closure to his character arc, and then giving Joy I guess more of a story with the the White Tail or something syndicate, the gambling syndicate with his dad, which is not in the game. I thought that was kind of interesting because I feel like some of these characters got one-dimensional. Like Joy was just that girl with the bike that every Japanese guy would want to date, and then the bad girl, and then you had Wong was just the street kid that never really got a closure in his story, and then here they did, so it was pretty cool. What was your opinion on this episode, Barry?
I thought it was a solid episode. This is what I was expecting from the Shenmue anime, just a lot more moments from the games, expanded scenes, new scenes, and just something that drives the story forward, lots of boss fights. I read a few reviews online. There's been a few websites that have been chronicling the anime and reviewing it. I noted some people were like, oh, this one will really disappoint fans of the game because there's scenes that are changed or characters are doing things that they didn't do in the games. And I gotta admit, I completely disagree. I think Joy and Wong doing more, it just adds to their characters. And it's just like with Nozomi and Goro and the forklift and that whole scene. Like that was completely new, but it shows the characters being a lot more involved. And I think as Rio goes through this journey, we see time and time again that he's impacting the people that he comes across and affecting their lives, which is something the games did to a point, but never this much. And I like it. I do.
Yeah, it's weird because I think in the game, it all takes place through the point of view of Ryu, so it's kind of weird to like it's kind of hard to give other characters scenes. It's like you're not playing as Ren, so what's Ren doing when Ryu's not around? But in the anime, they could adapt it that way, and I think it works. I agree with you. I do have some notes and pictures. First of all, let me get the notes up. Early on in the episode, we were talking about Wong having character growth. This one, it's more of like he's tired of being a street kid. They're kind of playing into the whole like I guess stereotype in anime where like this character that comes to their lives is so good that it changes their lives forever, which is kind of an anime trope. But in Wong's case, like, I don't know, did he have a turnaround where he's like, I'm not going to be a street kid anymore, basically, and not thief, and not be a, you know, like, I felt like he just was who he was, and then Ryu came in his life, and then he left, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe that's what people can sound off in the comments if there is. I mean, I don't think it was touched on in this much detail, but maybe there were little comments dropped towards the end if you talked to him and he's like, I'm going to do better. Thanks, Rio. You know, could be something like that.
Yeah. There was that. I do have a picture of Joy. Let me look at the notes real quick. Oh, them teaming up was something that was also different than obviously in anything else. I think their relationship together, like them actually talking and them and Ren, was probably the most expanded thing they got because, like, I don't think they had that much interactions, and when they did, it was more like through Ryu, and in the anime, they did it by themselves, right. Which kind of interesting. I wish they would have pushed stuff like this a little further, but it was interesting. It's interesting because, like, it is different from the anime. They do add new stuff from the anime, like we'll talk about in a little bit, but I also like that they did this, but I wanted to know what you thought about the whole Joy playing up the fact that Joy's parents were somebody in Hong Kong. Like, they were part of the White Tie in this one, which is a gambling syndicate that her father ran, is what they implied, and that the Yellowheads were muscles for. And then in the end, it's saying that the Yellowheads betrayed them, and this kind of led to Joy's mother dying, which is another thing that was never touched upon in the game that I remember. So, what do you think about all this? I did look up the White Tie and Shenmue 2 and all that, and there was no mention of it on the internet, you know, other than the anime. So,
I liked it. I liked any expansion of Joy as a character. I'm actually interested to hear what Lisa Wilkerson would think about this. Even though she's not voicing Joy in the anime, she has a podcast right now, the Blonde Geisha podcast, and she seems like she's an anime fan. Like, she does anime conventions. Some of her favorite shows growing up were anime, because she was a young girl in Japan. So I'd like to, I mean, I almost want to bring her back on the show again to interview her, just see, like, hey, check out Shenmue the anime and share your thoughts on Joy, because there's a lot here. She was a strong character for sure. I don't think she was a stereotype, but she definitely was there for the fans. Yeah, a certain kind of fan.
It reminds me sort of like Yakuza, you know, when you're like playing a game, it's like, cool, you got the Tojo clan, you got all these other clans, and then all of a sudden they like drop you a random clan that this clan it's even more violent than the last clan that you fought or whatever, and they just like make them up.
Right.
The white, yeah. I kind of like it though that Joy has a little more sway, more character, actual, I don't know, history. That's pretty cool. She had a little bit with her dad being a businessman, but that's about it. I added a picture of Yuan with her chainsaw because I thought that was one of my favorite scenes in Shenmue 2. They did a little recreation. They kind of scaled it back. But I remember when I played the game how insane he or she, or I mean, depending on the version you played, was in that game. Like how unhinged. And I was like, whoa, a chainsaw? Like, it went from, like barely having any weapons or anything, and more of hand-to-hand combat to having this really insane building fight to go to the top. And,
that was amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so I thought they added this in the anime. I think they just kind of added it as an Easter egg. It felt like it wasn't, like, a big, epic scene like it was, in my opinion, in the game, which I think the whole Yellowhead building was actually done a lot better in the game. Which is, I don't know. Would you say the Yellowhead building and that whole chapter was the most exciting or more action-packed Shenmue chapter ever? Like even 3?
Well, yeah. I mean, I often cite that whole like disc, or that, I guess, moment, as some of my favorite Dreamcast like moments in general. Just like the whole build up going through the building, it just kept building on itself, getting crazier and crazier. The boss fights, it was just so much fun. And I think the anime captured a bit of that. I mean, I wouldn't say it was like a home run, but it was much better than I think the middle of the anime. And I don't want to get down on this, because I think this actually kind of made those 4 episodes that they did the teacups. What is that called again? I just blanked.
For Voodoo.
Yeah. I think this kind of, and I think I was saying at that time, I'm like, just let's wait, because this might pay off, and there'll be an episode where we go, oh, that's why they did 4 episodes. And I don't think it quite paid off, but I know we'll get to it. But I like that moment.
Okay, so
the flashbacks.
Yeah, so there's this character is weird, and they actually brought him back in the anime, which I'm not that surprised. But Master Beihu, which is a mysterious street fighter, I looked up more info on him, and like, he's the master of the Tiger Swallow style, which is the same fighting style that Landy and his dad use. Yeah. And in the game, it kind of felt weird. It was like there was a ring, right? And then he was just in the building, I remember. And you had to beat him to get back Joy. But he never said if he was a Chi-Yu-Min or if he was a Yellowhead. It almost felt like he was just like a hired fighter from the tournament to fight Ryu in the end. Here, they kind of imply more that he's working with whoever the people in the Yellowhead building are. And I guess it would make sense, since he was a Yellowhead building fighter, that he would be called upon if someone attacked. So I would say that mystery kind of is over. If the anime is anything to be considered about. But yeah, this is the big epic fight scene when Ryu does the, flashback, and he learns the whole 4 Voodoo, and he beats this guy. My only issue with him is that, like, I don't know, they could have added way more lore to him and like built him up throughout the episodes a little bit. But because he kind of like, he was in the tournament last episode, and now he's like supposed to be a pretty big deal, but like it's so over so fast that you're like, oh, I guess it was a big deal. I don't know. What do you think?
I thought it was strange that he dresses like this normally. I thought it was for the tournament, like a costume.
Kind of like a religious thing or something, like cultural.
Not even that, just like almost like Mexican wrestling, where it's just, I guess that's a bad example because they're always wearing the mask in public. But you know what I mean? Like I would have thought that
like a stage performer,
Yeah, I thought he would have taken the mask off and just been some dude. But the fact that he's like, oh, I'm just walking through a business building, it's like, oh, okay. Hey.
And it doesn't even look comfortable. Cool. Can you imagine chilling playing video games with this big old thing on? Forget about it, dude.
You can.
And in the anime, and I'm not sure if in the anime, but I know in the game he does say, I'm going to see you again, and we haven't seen him yet. So, Shenmue 4 Kickstarter, probably.
Well, you never know. There might be Shenmue 4 news coming soon, from what I've been hearing.
Is that true? I mean, the anime's almost over. If there's any time to make another announcement or plans, it's probably soon. Oh, Yuan is afraid of rats. I put it on here. I have no idea. I thought it was a funny scene when Yuan gets all those rats on him. And
that was awesome.
Yeah, I just put... The end of the episode is on the top of the Yellowhead building. The iconic sunset with the Chi-Yu-Min helicopter with Landy. For some reason, couldn't get inside his plane, so he's like hanging out on a rope, looking down very sinisterly at Ryu, and it ends. I consider this bit one of the most epic parts of the games when I was a kid, just because it's like, you're finally so close to him. You're like face to face, basically. You're like a few spans away. Like, Ryu's been chasing him from Japan all the way here. At this time, we waited 3 or 4 years, and when you're a kid, 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 years or whatever, it feels like a lifetime to like. And I thought when I was a kid, I was like, oh, you're gonna get in a fight with Landy right here. And no, it never happened. But what was your opinion on, like, not even, like, that cock tease they gave us? Landy's right there. We don't even get to fight him.
I thought it was a bit more epic in the game than it was in the anime, just because of how cinematic the shots were and the 3D models. I also think, and this happens often in video games, and I guess in Shenmue as well, that when you don't see, like, a certain model of something and then it suddenly shows up, like, you don't see helicopters in Shenmue. And all of a sudden you're at the top of a building, which never happens in Shenmue, and there's a helicopter that never happens in Shenmue, and a character is hanging from it. Like, you're so used to, you know, running around on the ground and looking up and maybe seeing an airplane once or twice, but to be on top of a building and seeing a helicopter and seeing the main villain, like, hanging out there, you're like, holy crap, this is a big deal. I've never seen this in the video game. You know. And
it was pretty epic. The music, I mean, like, you can't underestimate how much more epic the music is in the game than in the anime, which is very, I kind of, like, wish they would have someone would re-edit it with the actual video game music in the back, but whatever. It would make, you know, a bigger impression. So the next the next episode, do you think it ends with you going and meeting Shenhua, like, right at the end? Yeah. I think the cave is the final. I think they're going to wrap up the time there. They'll go to Shenhua and we'll skip the cave. But I think we're going to also see teases of Shenmue 3. And I think after the anime wraps, they're going to announce a season 2. And I think they are going to announce a Shenmue 4. And I think season 2 will adapt Shenmue 3 and be like a half season. Those are my guesses. Probably. I probably agree with that. Anything you want to add for this episode so I can close it up? No. Never. Right. Never. All right. Thank you guys for watching the Shenmue the Animation After Show. If you guys will have any corrections or anything you want to add, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you guys thought about the new added scenes, character development for with Joy. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on the next one. Bye. Bye.